Hello and welcome to the Metal Pack Pod, the industry's leading podcast for the global metal packaging market. With over 7,000 monthly users in over 150 countries globally, be sure to check us out on metalpackager.com. I'm your host Alex Fordham, and in today's episode we welcome Mike Mackay, Managing Director of Despray Enviromental. Mike is a world-leading aerosol recycling expert where his business and entrepreneurial background spans over 30 years and being involved with over 10 startups. His passion for the industry has been founding, developing and bringing aerosol recycling to the world market. He's a co-founder of the world's most advanced aerosol recycling technology, Despray, so we're in good hands today. Mike presents a thought-provoking interview on how aerosols affect our environment and how to make changes to the current methods of recycling aerosols to create a truly circular economy. This podcast will leave you thinking differently on the importance of 100% aerosol recycling and how it can be accomplished along with industry and policy changes needed to make a major impact. But before we begin the episode, we must give special mention to our sponsors, PPG. Their range of innovative solutions help protect and beautify the world. Now on to today's show. Morning, Mike. How are you?
I'm great, thanks. How are you doing?
Yeah, very well, thanks. And looking forward to an interesting discussion about a few various topics, not least the aerosol industry, which you are certainly an expert on. So looking forward to a good conversation. So just for our listeners who aren't quite as well acquainted with your experience of the industry, perhaps is a good place to start just to introduce yourself and your background behind yourself within the industry.
Yeah, currently I'm one of the owners of Despray Enviromental. Our sole purpose is to make aerosol recycling machines, 100% recycling the gas, the liquid, and the metal. But my history comes for 24 years. I was just figuring today in the aerosol recycling industry. We were one of the founders. We got asked by a British company actually to create a machine that could recycle aerosols. And that didn't exist. We took it on. Took us a couple of years from the early 2000s to now. That has progressed dramatically, where we currently have a technology that can solve the aerosol waste problems, including the hazardous waste and the explosiveness. So yeah, so that's where we are today.
Excellent stuff, and I suppose that's the within the industry is the whole circular economy package, not least within the aerosol industry. Is finding a solution in terms of aerosols that is from end to end essentially. So this has been a challenge for you guys in the last few years, no doubt, hasn't it?
Yes, one of the biggest challenges is industry knowledge and public awareness of what aerosols really are, the three waste streams. So I've just brought some samples here, but the standard recycling, this is 200 aerosol cans squeezed into a solid metal brick. So when you think of that, an aerosol, you think, okay, if I recycle this metal, that's all we're after is the metal. And that's not true. And that's the problem, because we have explosive gases, just representing explosive gases like propane, butane, DME. And then you also have the hazardous waste liquids. So to get hazardous waste liquids, explosive propellant, and the metal combined together is extremely tough to do, and it's not a safe situation. So safety is number one, and then recycling is number two. And one of the big issues with that is if the technology doesn't exist, then these things are getting landfilled. And there's 16 billion a year are getting landfilled. So does that answer your question?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, how do we? That's a significant amount into landfill. I mean, how do we tackle this issue? And certainly on the metal packaging side, I know we're very industry specific. I mean, how are we doing as an industry overall in terms of recycling?
Well, you may not want to hear this, but I believe even in the USA, North America, the recycling rates for aerosol are below 10%, which seems crazy. But if you would have 10 years ago asked me, nobody really knew where they were going. That's the question. So I always compare it to the deep sea horizon, that oil spill that freaked the world out, watching TV every day, all day, wondering if it was ever going to stop. That was 800 million liters of hazardous waste, basically. The 16 billion cans, I just brought one as an example, 16 billion aerosol cans, they're not empty. And that's a fallacy. So we have our own recycling facility, so we know what the numbers are. And if I even took a low number and took 10% or even 1 ounce of per can, that's about 475 million liters a year of hazardous waste going to atmosphere or the landfill. So because the deep sea horizon was right there in your face all at once, even though it took months, with aerosols, it's a death by a million cuts because we have 16 billion cans. Nobody knows where they're going. I mean, that's changing now. And they're really ending up in the atmosphere. They're breaking down and they're going to greenhouse gases. And on top of that, the real shame is that we're losing the metals. Now, as we speak, that is changing quickly. The aerosol industry, the metal industry, the aluminum industry, everybody's jumping on board now because of a couple of things: the price of raw metals and mining them, and then the environmental impacts as well.
Has this industry been late to the party in terms of the environmental consequences then? And I know at the moment, certainly buzz terms in terms of sustainability and carbon footprint, etc. But do you think, to coin a phrase, the industry's been kidding itself about its environmental credentials and perhaps overplaying that aspect just because metal is infinitely recyclable?
Yes, the industry is behind for sure. I think they were aware of it, but nobody really knew what to do. So even like our technology recycles 100%, but we don't have the capacity to recycle 16 billion cans. I mean, that would be thousands of machines. So yes, they're late to the game, but they're coming to the table, which is exciting. Even recently this year, there's the UK Aerosol Recycling Initiative.
Yeah.
It's a big mouthful. That's including the can industry, the aluminum industry, the recycle industry, and the fillers, the aerosol fillers. That is the first time it's even been acknowledged. Even 10 years ago, like I was thought as the crazy man because there was nothing to see here, but there is a lot to see here. So I'm excited that that's changing. It's changing relatively quickly. I was on a call yesterday with the Household Consumer Products Association in the US, which is a huge association. And they cover everything: soaps and household items and aerosols and everything. And they met with the UK Aerosol Recycling Initiative, and they're bringing on their own initiative now. So you can see things changing. Yes, they're late to the game. Yes, that's pretty upsetting. I would say it was a complete, not really oversight, but not in my back room or hide it in the closet. But where environmental policies for fillers in the past was all about their plant, the manufacturing, getting the raw materials to the plant, shipping, blah, 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 and never the end product. But now we're addressing the end product. So never too late.
We interrupt this episode for a brief segment from our sponsors, PPG.
Packaging coatings from PPG draw on our company's 140-year history of innovation. We never stop improving our solutions to meet the evolving needs of can makers and the marketplace. That spirit of innovation results in technology like the cradle-to-cradle platinum-rated PPG Innovel Pro. PPG Innovel Pro is the latest enhancement to the world's #1 non-BPA beverage can coating. It still doesn't use any bisphenol ingredients, but experienced can makers report that it now sprays like an epoxy. Follow PPG Packaging Coatings on LinkedIn or visit packagingcoatings.com to learn more about why PPG is the coatings partner for can making excellence.
Absolutely. And having this conversation now, you strike me as a very passionate individual with regards to aerosols. And in pre-recording, you mentioned to me that I just got the quote here because I thought it was very personal. You said you've been a thorn in the side of the aerosol filling market for some time. So that sounds like it's almost a badge of honor, so to speak.
It's sort of a badge of honor, but it's a double-edged sword because when I was pushing and pushing and pushing, they didn't want to hear it. And obviously they don't want public awareness of all these beautiful aerosols, hairspray and everything. We don't want to hear that they're a problem because that would reduce the sales in aerosols potentially. So yeah, I was a thorn on their side. It's a bit of a badge of honor. I backed off a bit now because I want to work with them and they don't have to work with us. but I think it's coming on themselves, and there's some positive signs.
Positivity is great. I mean, is there still work to be done? I mean, I don't want to ask you to play clairvoyant, but is there in the next sort of 3 to 5 years the major challenges for this industry, and what other work do you think can be done if you're a decision maker within this industry? What are the things that we should be doing now to ensure the I suppose the healthy future of the aerosol market?
Well, a couple of things are being done now. The recognition of this as a major waste stream is number one. I still think that's teetering a bit, maybe for public image more than anything. But the other one is policy and financial. Both those things are probably the same thing. So when I was talking to the Household Consumer Products Association, their big issue is how do they mandate this? How do they manage it? So they just last year or the year before made aerosols universal waste in the US. I thought that was going to be a negative, but it was a big positive because then it let the recycling companies were allowed to ship these hazardous waste materials without the hazardous waste licenses, which are very hard to get. So they were all going out the back door. Now that it's universal waste, these can be handled by most recycling companies. And that's made a big difference. My phone's ringing off the hook now. But so to get back to policy, one of the policies is what do you do with these things? So you put them in your blue box, you think they go away. So they do go away from your house or to the MRFs or whatever. And then what do they do with them? That's the big issue. So they say they're recycling them, but if they're not recycling them 100%, then what are they doing? They're either landfilling them, they're shredding them, they're crushing them and letting the gas go to atmosphere, or all of the above, or incinerating them, which has some benefits for waste energy, but then you lose the metal. So I think the big issue here is getting the policy so almost mandated that these have to be recycled as much as they can, get the numbers up, is one. And the big one's price. I mean, so we quoted Brazil, for example. They're having a big issue. They've targeted aerosols. And as soon as they get to the price of a safe and 100% recycled machine, well, it's out the door. So then they're going towards can crushers, and they're allowing everything to go to atmosphere. Well, they're considering that recycling, but you're just recycling the metal at the point, and you're putting people at risk. Because they are very explosive. Australia just had 4 big accidents there, and they're shutting down their aerosols going to landfill. So now that's all because of the environment, that's all changing. Nobody knows what to do with them. So for the aerosol industry, and I do give them full credit, they're on board to address this issue. It's got to be addressed soon. And one of the big ones is to have the money so that the recyclers can make money on these things, not where they have to buy a $5,000 machine and everything goes to atmosphere, because that's the cheapest thing to do. I'm passionate about it because in my local area, I can get 10 cents for a beer can, but I can't get 10 cents for an aerosol can. And the money, I don't want 10 cents, and the consumer, I think, is above that now. I mean, that was the attractant 5 or 10 years ago. I don't want 10 cents for my aerosol can to be a good citizen. I'll bring that aerosol can. And so will almost everybody else. And we did an experiment in Germany where we just put aerosol bins out at hair salons, in gas stations, in malls even, with nothing, just saying recycle your aerosols here. And people brought them and they filled up, and that became an industry of its own. So to me, that proves that the consumer will work with us. And does the consumer need the 10 cents? Really, if I bring 10 aerosol cans, I get $1, or even if they're 50 cents, I get $5. And that doesn't sound like much, but if it's 50 cents times, let's say, 1 billion, that's a lot of money. And that if that went to the recycler, well, don't you think the recyclers would be on board? Of course they would. Just as an example, sorry for going on, but as an exact example, Australia, I was shocked. The guy from Australia was so excited, he flew for 27 hours to come and see our machine work. And why did he do that? Not because he wanted to save the world, even though it's going to help. He did that because the price of aerosols, they were mandated that they couldn't put them in the landfills. The price of aerosols, and I'm not even exaggerating, $6 a kilo. So he can, for a ton, he can get 6,000 a ton. That is ludicrous. But what's happened is everybody in Australia is now looking to recycle aerosols. So the money is important, and that's an extreme at six a kilo. We're getting it as low as 0.25 a kilo. In the UK as well, there's some low numbers, and there's some high numbers. So I don't really know what's determining those numbers. In Germany, we have 2,000 a ton. In Netherlands, where we are, we're around 1,200 a ton. But those price per ton, where does that money come from? And the aerosol industry, I believe, is paying in to end-of-life recycling. I believe they are, so I'm going to give them full credit there. And they're probably frustrated, say, we're paying in. Where does that money go? I think that's where the crux of the matter is. And if it went to the recyclers, maybe with a stewardship program saying, yes, you are recycling this, here's your money. If I was a recycler, I'd want to make a couple $1 million a year for recycling aerosols. And on top of that, you have to do it right. Safety, safety, safety. You don't want to hurt anybody or kill anybody or maim anybody. So that has to be taken into consideration, and it's not cheap. You can't do that with a can crusher. You could, but somebody's getting hurt, and it's going to atmosphere. So
absolutely, and I think ultimately, I've heard this quote before that economics always wins out at the end, regardless of sustainability credentials, and it's it's important for the end consumer or people that are in this industry to, if you make it economically attractive to do the right thing in terms of sustainability and recycling, then it will happen, really. But ultimately, you need to make it attractive for people to make that decision in the first place.
Well, it's all over the world. I just want to give you an extreme example the other way. We've quoted a lot of people in Africa. Well, who would think Africa's got an aerosol recycling problem? So our bright idea was to recover this gas, put it back to liquefy it, put it back into cooking, because they have a big problem with cooking fuels. They're burning everything, plastic and wood and whatever they can. Well, wouldn't it be a great idea to use the fuel from aerosols for cooking? Then we get to the price of the machine. So we quote a price of machine, even if we strip it down. They're trying to make, so this is Africa. And everyone that we dealt with there, they're trying to make the return on investment on the metal. And the return on investment's not in the metal. The metal's a great recovery product, 100% recyclable, continuous recyclable, but the money's not in the metal. The money's in the recycling, the cost per ton to recycle. And they just can't make it work. So even if they took the gas, the price of gas, like even though it's higher now, and we compress it to liquid fuel, and that's a great story. And it is a great story, and so is the metal. But the price to get them to do it is where the setback is. In these African countries, some of them have been partnering with first world countries that are funding recycling programs. But I'm not so sure it's going to the right place, because they can't afford a machine. So if you can't afford a machine, we did a full study in Africa. We went to their landfills and started picking out cans and weighing them and seeing where they go. And in some cases, they've got guys. I've had a video on my link before. Guys are just poking the can and letting the stuff go to atmosphere. Then they get the can. Well, the can's not really the problem if you can do it. But if you don't recycle them, then even the cans go into landfill. And that's just a shame.
Absolutely. And I just want to move things on a fraction just before we conclude the conversation. So we talked at length about the various issues involved with the industry. But are there any other trends that perhaps for those of us in the industry who aren't part of the aerosol industry? I mean, if you look at the metal packaging industry overall, we've had a couple of podcasts recently about the two-piece beverage can market, where the industry has stalled somewhat during the last few months. So during COVID and the last few years, the sustainability message and a few other things have meant that the industry has really boomed. But due to economic reasons, probably the market has slowed this year. So just wanted some context specifically about the aerosol market. If you've got any information there that you could share with us, and any other trends as well that be gratefully received.
I do see, from what I know, the aerosol is not going down. Maybe a little bit, but it's coming back up because there's so many more products, food products. So aerosols are so convenient that they're coming up. But I also see the aerosol industry changing some of their propellants, for example. They're going to environmentally friendly propellants, and they're also going with bag-on-valve. Bag-on-valve has no propellant in it, and they're also going to other different propellants. Not the problem with that is, no, that's I shouldn't say the problem. That's great initiative, and they're swinging that way, and you can see that trend. But they have to change the machinery, for example. You got this like giant machinery in the UK. The Unilever has one plant does 1 billion cans a year. Well, you can't switch that overnight. Understood, but they are making great efforts to do that, and so now you've got that on the gas side, but you can't convert them all over. You can't convert 16 billion cans to environmentally friendly, because some of them, the propellants won't work. And that's what people don't understand. You can't just fill every can with a bag-on-valve because it doesn't atomize right. So that's understood, but they're aware of it. The industry is aware of it. They're doing things about it. They're using their scientists and their engineers to do things. But I see a positive trend that way. So now the problem here with the industry is, like, even if they solve that, which they can't do it 100%, then you still got the liquid contents. And when you're recycling the liquid contents, I got WD-40 mixed in with whipping cream, mixed in with hairspray, mixed in with paint, mixed in with everything. You still have the hazardous waste. So the answer is to get the money, get the focus on the end of life. And policy could be not letting them be landfill. And that's what's happening in some countries. And that's really, really a positive looking thing. It really is making me feel happy, because I don't know how many years I've got left in this industry, and I'd like to make an impact.
Absolutely. You, by the sounds of it, you certainly have over the years. So yeah, that's much appreciated for the industry. And I just wanted to conclude with your overriding thoughts on the industry as it is at the moment, and you positive for the future of the aerosol market, but also the metal packaging industry in general. Just a few closing remarks to finish.
Well, for me, the two things. The aerosol industry is big. They're smart. They've got a lot of money, and they're very well managed. And they know this. I don't have to tell them what these issues are. They know this. They're going to make changes. So I truly believe that we will see better. It'll never be 100%. Well, neither will anything, including beverage cans. As far as the can industry is going, and I'm not playing favorites here, but I'm just telling you from a technical point, cans are the way to go. If it were my ideal situation, I would make this plastic can metal. I'd make this metal, because then you can have 100% recycling. If the industry, and it's died down a bit, so I apologize for not knowing this, but I was at Polytech a couple of years ago, and the industry was introducing plastic cans. And I'm not against the plastic industry, but how the heck are they going to recycle these things? So the plastic's contaminated. You can't sort it out from the steel cans. You're contaminating the metal cans, and you're going to have some issues. And how do you tell a plastic can from a plastic bottle, like a water bottle? So plastic is bothering me, and I'm not a plastic expert. But I do know that you can recycle metal. I've been recycling metal for a long time, including oil filters, whatever. It's continuously recycled, and that can go into a melt and come back 100%. But especially in the aluminum industry, if you put this plastic in, then it reduces the quality of your aluminum recovery. So to keep the plastic out, so let's say I squish this into bricks. I just want to show you, sorry. If I squish the plastic into this brick, then the plastic's stuck within this brick. And that's okay. I can actually see some here. In order to get it 100%, I'd have to shred this brick and separate the plastic, but it's still good, like the maybe 70% recovery. So yeah, I see the industry changing. I see a positive change. And as far as I hate to say it to the plastic people, but they haven't proven to me that they have a proper way to solve this. They told me that they'd wash the contents in water, and then what happens to the water, I don't know. But I do know that metal works, and I'm not getting paid by anybody to say that. It's that's the way I would go.
Absolutely.
Can I answer your question?
Oh, I think that's a terrific way to finish the podcast. So yeah,
That's why I'm
Metalworks.
excited for this British aerosol initiative, because they have
Absolutely.
the metal guys involved, and yeah, it's self-serving to them, but because it's also solving one of the world's problems. Because if they have to get raw aluminum or raw steel, how much is that doing to our planet versus right in front of us going into landfills? So yeah, big believer in that.
Absolutely. Well, it's been a pleasure, Mike. Thank you very much for your time, and we'll speak to you soon.